Hello and welcome to this episode of Flex That Works. We're coming to you live from Manchester for GCUC UK, and right now we're being joined by Paddy Kennedy. Paddy is the practice leader for the Global Flexible Workspace Advisory at Colliers. Great to have you here, Paddy.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me.
You just come off the stage, you had a great panel there.
Yeah, I hope it landed okay. Yeah,
it really did. We've got a couple of questions for you off the back of it, if that's all right.
Absolutely, yeah.
Smashing. So first up, from everything you're seeing at the moment, what's the biggest shift that's really happening? Like, who are you speaking to? Is it startups? Is it managers? Is it?
Yeah, as I alluded to in my presentation, we had a Brighton symposium, which is 100 occupiers that came along. Well, it's grown year on year. We do it every 2 years. And one of the funny things that I actually didn't mention was how much the word flex or serviced offices has crept in more and more each year. And these occupiers are, the Googles, the EYs, the, big corporate international brands and businesses. And one thing they kept saying over the course of the few days that we were with them was flexibility, agility, serviced offices or flex, whatever they defined it as, is now become a very deliberate part of their strategy, and they see that increasing much more so in the future as well. And it's quite nice to see that we obviously transact a lot of their serviced office deals, and they really lean on us for that support and knowledge of, because typically it's been IWG, WeWork, and they've both been in the news for good and bad reasons a lot. So whereas you actually then start talking to more boutique or national players in a given global market, and all of a sudden, they're the guys that will roll out the red carpet, that'll treat them well, and so our occupiers are determined to understand it more, use it more, but we're there to obviously give them that piece of advice where we can recommend who they should partner with.
Yeah. So like regional flex has become a huge conversation. What would you say that's still kind of being misunderstood about demand outside London and the urban areas?
Misunderstood about demand. I suppose that with the regions, it kind of, from a broker perspective or from a occupier perspective, what do you think?
Both. I'm always interested from the occupier perspective mostly, but I know then of course the broker perspective might be a little bit more wide ranging.
Yeah, I think from the occupier perspective, it's the regions kind of have always, whether rightly or wrongly, they kind of become secondary in people's minds and thoughts, and I think that's the same then with the agents and the brokers. I'm a proud Mancunian, and when we always see it when we've got people wanting to dip their toes into any of the regional markets, but particularly Manchester. We walk them from the train station into the city centre, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, this place is great. Like, we didn't realise that it had so much going on in terms of bars, restaurants, accommodation, corporate real estate buildings, nightlife, you name it, and it's so much more affordable. So, and the talent's there. So it's, the regional cities are almost, best kept secrets. It's kind of like you can really grow a business here. And the ones that do trust it and go with it, they're seeing dividends. We saw Matt speak earlier from Mark 43 about his experience in Manchester and how successfully he's been able to grow the team, and the cultural fit that is so much. I think there's a lot of humility in the regions compared to maybe London.
We call those notions, Paddy.
Right. Yeah. So,
we talk a lot about like spaces in regional areas, infrastructure, getting co-working seen as part of infrastructure as a baseline with councils and at different levels. So it's really useful to see bigger brands taking on co-working, even if they're calling it flex, whatever that might look like. It's all lending itself to maturing the industry.
Sure.
So having those spaces, I think that's probably the biggest thing that's misunderstood, is underestimating the potential of those locations.
Absolutely. I think one of the other messages that gets misunderstood, and I think we all live, breathe flex, and the language that we like to lean into flex, and service, flex, managed, traditional, and they're all words that we like to label things so that we try and make differentials. But the reality is, when you start putting your occupier hat on, and they'll just come to me and go, well, I don't know what you mean by managed, I don't know what you mean by serviced, and I don't know what, like, all I'm telling you is I need an office for this many people and this many desks and that many meeting rooms, and I'm looking at 2 to 5 years as a term. You know, you're meant to be leading me. And I think we need to be very careful in our industry of using these words too much to talk to each other.
Absolutely.
But to the end user, the occupier, you know, they don't speak that language. And I think we need to be careful. I suppose it's a bit like when you go and, what I think we need to be doing is making it a bit more like if you go and buy a car, right? And you can go and get the car, like the standard entry level, then there's the extra trim, then there's the GTS. It's kind of like if we can start making the message clearer about what Flex and all the products that come with it are, then, because I think it gets blurred even with all the guys in the room, right? So we need to make the message clearer to the occupier, because that's how we're going to see more transactions happen.
And that's our job, you know, because we understand both sides. So it's for us to bridge the gap for
Correct.
people. Yeah.
Paddy, you mentioned the boutique operators are now starting to, I suppose, compete with the larger, well-known brands.
Yeah.
What are they doing to kind of put themselves in the conversation?
Yeah, it's difficult. They always want to be part of the conversation, obviously, and it's difficult when you're a boutique, because unless you need to be tried and tested to build that trust, right? But we kind of, you know, thankfully that's certainly my job to, you know, look under the hood of these boutiques and go, I know how much it means to you if you've got a business like Deloitte or FTI Consulting or whoever it may be. Be in your building versus, you know, it's not to downplay them, everyone's got their place in the market, but when you've got the bigger global market leaders in the industry, they're just a number, and you know they're not going to get looked after. The community cultural fit goes. So
what does I suppose, describe me what a boutique looks like operationally, and what advantages they might have against the large one-off operators as well.
So if you were to look at boutiques that exist, again, bringing it home into Manchester, there's probably 2, 3, 4 that have appeared on the map. And what the boutique advantage is, they really understand the city. You know, they understand the culture, and they might decorate it in a certain way. And it may be that, you know, you've got some sort of music scenes or Oasis kind of, or like the Manchester Bee, whatever it may be. But they really start to understand how the city works, and that definitely transfers through into the end user. So I'd say that's a big advantage. And as I say, when you're a smaller boutique operator, every deal matters and everything, and so you really want to wrap your arms around the occupiers. It's a bit like, you know, I suppose if you want to go. If someone said if I ran my own operator and I was a boutique and someone said, yeah, we're out of oat milk, I'd run down to the local Tesco, get some oat milk and bring it back. Like, you're not going to get the larger providers sort of behaving in a similar way, you know?
You touched on something there at the start of the conversation that I think we're, in the industry, I think we're probably a little guilty of it when we're trying to get this notion that it's not just desks we're selling, it's not just offices. I think you touched on it quite well there when you said, like, you walking through the city. And, you know, Manchester's a great example of a really vibrant city. That must, again, interplay with how the boutiques can compete when they know what's going on the ground.
Yeah, oh, without a doubt.
And what's going on outside the space makes selling the space that far more easy. As in when you're the people manager, and, you know, it's not just about the space, and you were talking about A-class stock and all that. It's all about what your staff do after work is very important.
Correct.
As well,
It is. I think, you know, some of the corporate occupiers we were speaking to at our symposium, you know, they're making a real shift towards the service flex world, because they're seeing that is bringing community to their staff. And, you know, one of them was sort of saying, if we have our own office and it's just our own office, despite how you might want to try and make it feel a bit of a buzz or an energy, it's very hard to replicate what a shared office environment can do when you go out, literally open your office door, and all of a sudden there's other people in and around you, and the buzz that creates. So they're making a very, you know, deliberate shift across their global portfolio. You know, they must have hundreds, if not thousands, of locations around the world, definitely hundreds anyway. So, and they're making a very deliberate shift away, and they're happy to pay the premium for it, and they're understanding, you know, still getting the hybrid working model. So it really lends itself to what they want to try and achieve and how they want to get their office utilization up again, and it's working really well.
And that full context, like we talk a lot about the working day and how much more intentional and selective employees are being now about what their days look like, how they best work, where they actually want to spend their time. And they will move employers based on what that looks like. So people selecting to work with operators that have a greater context around the quality of life and things and understand how it fits into the environment, it makes so much sense for them to be aware of that, you know.
100%.
Because I wanted to ask you, what do you think like will make a landlord select one operator over another?
So I always think when we're doing our landlord sort of consultancy piece, it's a difficult game. It's multifaceted why that's a difficult game. It depends on the landlord, right? It depends on what their appetite is. Are they looking to, what's the driver for them considering a flex operator, right? Are they looking to sell the building? Are they looking at it as just additional amenity to attract other occupiers to the building? Are they long-term holders of the asset? In which case they could be more receptive to management agreements because they want to partner with the right. So you have to understand the drivers. Then you have to, any building location, you can't pick up a building and move it. So that will also determine which operators you can look at and which ones you can't. In terms of how premium or not premium you can go, because then you've got to look at the returns on the desks and not. Floor plates, how efficient a floor plate is. So all these things get weighed into the conversation, and then from the operator side, who's willing to maybe take a chance on a lease or management agreement hybrid. So there's various structures, but once you actually go through it, landlords that's why there's so many pieces of the jigsaw, so many ingredients in the pie that landlords do kind of really need to lend on experienced flex
Absolutely.
people, because it's you can't just go, get industrious in that one and get Gilbanks in that way. It's very difficult just to say, blanket approach.
But Paddy, you mentioned that they're now starting to have a go at it themselves. What's driving that?
Yeah, I think it's difficult to do it yourself because it's resource, it's time, it's money, it's brand presence, or not even necessarily brand, but it's visibility. But the ones that have started to do it themselves, a lot of them are reaping the rewards of that. And I think in the future, whether it's third party delivered, but I think every building should almost have the perfect stack of a building is kind of having some nice basement amenity and whatever else, but then having the ground floor presence of a serviced element or that hospitality-led look and feel, some sort of true flex and service offering, and then some sort of managed product, and then maybe some traditional floor plates above as well. But that's how, if I was a landlord, that's how I'd want to pack my building. But the ones that are doing it themselves, Allied London here, they're doing a great job with it. They've got their own brand, the department, and that they've seen great success, and they use it as a real growth trajectory for their occupiers. Bruntwood, another great example, which is that exact model that I just described. That's what Bruntwood are doing in their Pioneer building, what they call their Pioneer redevelopment or new build. Well, it's redevelopment, Bruntwood, but repurposing. So yeah, they're doing it really, really well. But again, it's horses for courses, and not every landlord's going to be able to deliver it themselves because it is a lot of resource.
We're going to wrap up in a minute. If you had to say this, I have actually a quick fire round for you as well, but just one last question on that one. If I was to push you for one thing to look out for if landlord was thinking of doing it by themselves, what's one thing they'd have to have in place, or is there any kind of make or break factor?
Yeah, I think if the landlord's doing it themselves, it starts with the people. It starts with the resource. Co-working is just driven by people at the end of the day, and that's the culture and that's the community that you're trying to harness. If you don't have the right people resource, the rest you're not going to get that right. Even if you just sort of speculatively deliver it, you need the people to deliver it, the people that know how.
Can you give in one word what's the best and the worst thing about co-working?
Worst. That's
start with the best.
Yeah, I was going to say. I don't really, but then I'm finishing on a low note if I go worst. The best thing about co-working for me, in my specific role, I love my role because I'm meeting new people and new occupiers, new businesses, new entrepreneurs, whatever it may be. on a daily basis. So I love the differential on a day-to-day of who you're going to meet and what they're trying to achieve. That makes my job all the more enjoyable. Working with big Deloittes and corporate users, or then your fast startup guys that are going, I've got this great idea, and I'm like, that is a great idea. Like, I should have done that. And the worst thing is probably that. I'm probably going, yeah, I should have done that.
Too many ideas?
Yeah, well, believe me, honestly.
Too varied.
Over the years of helping occupiers, I have been drawn to so many where I've gone, I would love to be a part of that. You're on a great mission and good luck to you kind of thing. So yeah, it definitely, yeah.
Maybe cloning is down the road for us, and you can do all these opportunities at some stage.
Yeah. No, there's some great ideas out there. So yeah.
Brilliant. Paddy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks,
Pleasure.
Paddy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.